feels like a lifetime ago. But every Thursday, there we were stood on our doorsteps, weren't we, clapping those who were working on the front line during the pandemic. And many of these people who've worked so hard to treat and protect us from coronavirus picked up those skills at the University of Reading. Well, in the latest of their alumni talks, some of those graduates are sharing what it's been like to work in the health sector over the past year. One of them is Gurinder Singh, who's now a pharmacy lecturer at the University of Reading. But that's not all you've been doing over the last year or so, Gurinder. So tell me what else you've been up to in that time.
Hi, morning there. Yeah, so the past year has been quite a challenge, it has, and also presenting lots of opportunities. So last year I started off probably in I only had one job, and a year later I've ended up with 3 or 4 jobs working 7 days a week.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to the fact that I know you've barely had a day off ever since all of this started. So on one hand you were working in education, on the other hand you were kind of working on the front line in the fight against COVID by doing what?
Yeah, so that's been challenging in terms of both sectors have presented its own logistical challenges. So on the front line, we've been looking at, so initially I started off with the national sort of test and trace program, so ensuring that a clinician was there available, stopping the spread of transmission. And I think that worked really well because being a pharmacist, everyone that I was speaking to knew their local pharmacist and knew sort of that they had that relationship with their pharmacists. So when I'd phoned them and explained to them, they were literally on the phone to me, explaining their symptoms and saying, what can we do? And they really sort of felt supported at the time. And then, so that was for the first 6 months, really busy. And then obviously from December onwards, we moved over to the vaccination rollout. And I think pharmacies and pharmacists have played an integral part in the vaccination service. And I think that's why we're where we are at the moment, because of such sort of rolling out at such scale and at such speed. And then we've even gone across to sort of make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind. So I've gone out onto the streets of central London and vaccinated homeless people as part of a charity drive. And I think that's the sort of the trend now going forward, that we're involving local grassroots organisations, local councils, national councils. And this is what I'd like to sort of see going forward, the multidisciplinary approach that we've taken this in the past year. And I think that's what been the small positive that we've had in this year. It's difficult talking about positives when you've had over sort of 3 million deaths globally, over 100,000 in the UK. But that's definitely something that I'm taking in my role forward. And you mentioned that the university is holding an alumni program this Thursday evening, and that just shows the collaboration, because we've got a medical doctor on the call, we've got a physician associate, and then you'll have myself as a pharmacist, all Reading graduates, but all talking about how we've done what we've done in our different roles.
So, it sounds as though, you took on more and more responsibility in terms of frontline duties away from the university, away from the campus. As you said, it's taken you all over the place. How vulnerable have you yourself felt over the last 15 months or so?
Well, massively, because it's been, as in being from a DNA sort of background, it's been an extremely tough year. And it's very, very difficult, because in the first half of the pandemic, we could see what was happening, but it just took so long for organisations, for national bodies to understand what was happening. And then on top of that, this time around, last year we had the Black Lives Matter movement. So it's taken its toll on people's health and well-being. And I think if we look back at the findings, they're alarming. It's shocking, to be honest. You're looking at sort of 2 to 3 times more likely to die from COVID than our white sort of counterpart colleagues. And the majority of people sort of from a BAME background are key workers working at the forefront of the public health crisis. You've got your own families. And what's been sort of the most difficult bit is that you might have suffering at home in terms of a death in your family, or parents struggling with symptoms of COVID, and then you're having to go up and see patients day in, day out, and you're having to put this brave face on and counsel and encourage patients about COVID, but you're struggling yourself.
So what have you done to kind of where's your downtime come? Bearing in mind, you point out that you've been working 7 days a week since goodness knows when. How has your escape? Where's your escape come, if you like?
Yeah, so I think a bit of my personal sort of faith comes into it. As in, my forefathers, my grandfathers have always been out working in sort of in the army, and whenever there's been a call to action, they've responded. And that's the reason I've come into healthcare is I respond to that need of time with healthcare, with knowledge. So that's what's motivating me, that I'm doing something for our society, for the greater good, and to see that there is end in sight. In terms of downtime, everyone has their sort of go-to. For me personally, I think, as in I've always done it, but it's just shown how important it has been by meditating.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how busy I've been in the last year, I've always taken that sort of, it doesn't have to be hours and hours.
Yeah.
Now 5-10 minutes to yourself, and recognizing who you are and where you are, because we can often sort of be outpaced by what's going around us.
Yeah, it's important to make time for it, isn't it? Gurinder, thank you. That's Gurinder Singh, pharmacy lecturer at the University of Reading. You can register online for that alumni event, which is taking place on Thursday at 6:30. Right, here's Jack Severetti.